Hey guys, STLYoungblood with you for another episode of Duality with Koolaid. Say hello, Koolaid.
Hello!
And today what we want to do is we want to talk about the Nanoweave because, well, frankly, it's pretty relevant with the new game update that came through. So one of the things that we're going to break down is actually what actually changed. And with Nanoweave, it's no longer increasing your player's health pool. And this is pretty much right out of the patch notes. It's now adding a resistance against infantry, small arms, and rapid-fire vehicle weapons only, so non-explosives. Nanoweave's no longer going to add survivability against damage types that it wasn't intended to counter, like blast damage. The strength of Nanoweave against the valid damage types remains the same as before. Now, probably one of the bigger changes here is that headshots are not always going to bypass the Nanoweave resistance and do full damage. I'm sorry, will always bypass Nanoweave and resist full damage. Reading is apparently difficult for me. And Nanoweave no longer stacks with the Heavy Assault's resist shield ability. Now it says this was not intentional, and it was granted the Heavy Assault too much survivability when compared to all other classes, pretty much making them a tank. And to date, if you have purchased Nanoweave with your certs, you will be receiving a refund that should already be in your bank. So, Koolaid, what do you think about these changes right off the bat?
I like them. I don't use Nanoweave on a lot of my classes, which definitely made me like the cert refund because I pretty much had Nanoweave on all my classes. But the main thing that I like is, you know, a lot of people out there just pick Nanoweave for every class, and I think, you know, that's not how it's intended. I think you should look at the shield suit or the suit slot and actually have to make a hard decision, not just go with Nanoweave for everything. And I think that's what, you know, it's going to be more the case now than it was before.
Well, and I think it just makes a lot of sense. It really is balancing things out. I mean, I don't think it was ever intentional, or if it was, it doesn't make sense why it would be resisting blast damage when you've got another suit slot that's specifically made for that.
Yeah, and I think that will make flak and other things a lot more appealing, which, you know, variety is something that is needed for that slot instead of just going with Nanoweave all the time.
Yeah, and I think it really was just a no-brainer choice. I mean, how often did you see anybody running anything else except for maybe like ammo belt for people that were sitting on top of a mountain, you know, sniping from a good distance away? So, I guess let's kind of break down some of these classes and what we would kind of recommend and what we would almost expect people to be using in, you know, exchange. And I guess before we even get into that, I think we probably need to make it clear that Nanoweave doesn't suck now.
Yeah, a lot of people, you know, were like in our outfit chat, we're you know, all saying, what do I need to pick now that Nanoweave is no good? And, you know, we pretty much had to tell them, you know, it's not bad now. It's a really good option. People just hear the word nerf and just automatically think they need to switch to something else, which is not the case at all with Nanoweave. It's still a really, really good option.
Yeah, and I think for me, when I'm looking at all these different classes, I could see almost a situation for just about every one of them where Nanoweave's still going to apply.
Definitely, and you know, I don't use Nanoweave, like I said, on a lot of my classes, but that's because I have I would call a really unique playstyle. I wouldn't say a better playstyle or anything like that, but really unique, where I'm just overly stupid aggressive, and I like advanced shield capacitor a lot. But you know, Nanoweave is still going to be pretty damn amazing, and you know, I'm still going to use it on a couple of my classes for sure.
All right, great. Well, let's start out with the Infiltrator. It's kind of what you've become known for, and it's what I've been doing a lot of lately. So, what do you see yourself using in the Infiltrator role?
I actually use Advanced Shield Capacitor already with the Infiltrator. Now, it's because I do not use Nano Armor Cloaking. I think if you were to go with Nano Armor Cloaking, I think Nanoweave is still the way to go. I think that's the best, has the best synergy together. But I think there's a lot of good options here. Ammo belt is definitely good, just depending on what weapon you're going to be using. And with the changes to scout rifles and semi-auto sniper rifles, those tend to use more ammo or have less ammo pool than some of the current weapons out there. So I think ammo belt's a good option. Even grenade bandolier, I see a lot of people running 3 EMP grenades, and that's a good option as well.
Yeah, I think you got a good point there with the ammo belt, and I think the one that, you know, makes sense with that too would be for the SMG infiltrators that are running around, because those burn through a lot of ammo pretty quick.
Definitely, and I actually, there was a time when that's all I ran on my SMG infiltrators was ammo belt, because I was deliberately going for long kill streaks for a kill streak video that somebody was putting out, Zappanite was putting out. And I noticed when I was doing that, that ammo belt was really, really, really handy when I had it equipped.
Yeah, and I think for myself, I'm probably going to be going back to Nanoweave for the Infiltrator. I'm a little bit different. I actually prefer the feel of Hunter Cloak. I'd rather be able to sneak around a little bit more. You know, I know the Nanoweave obviously pairs up really well with the the other cloak. What the hell is it called?
Nano armor.
Thank you. Anyways, but for me, I like the longer cloaking, and I think the Nanoweave there just makes sense for me. The advanced shield capacitor, I think that's a really good choice, but when I'm playing as Infiltrator, I kind of use the ability to cloak and, you know, evade things a little bit more, where I can get myself into a situation where I'm not using the shield capacitor, but it definitely slows down your playstyle to not have it.
You also play more, you prefer the SASR, which is the shorter range bolt action as well, so you're not typically as close as you would be with a submachine gun,
right?
Correct?
Yeah, very true. I mean, sometimes you get snuck up on, but in general, you're kind of in a a shorter mid-range scenario versus a point blank like you would be with an SMG.
Also, if anybody was curious, I did watch Friday Night Ops, and it's Murda, who I consider one of the best infiltrators out there. Also, I believe he said, don't quote me on this, I believe he said he would still be going with Nanoweave armor for his infiltrator. So I really hold his opinion pretty highly. So if you guys were wondering what he thought, I believe that's what he said on Friday Night Ops as well.
Yeah, and I think in general, especially when you're kind of taking a more aggressive role, people are more just aiming at your chest anyways, because that's kind of the big target. I don't think a lot of people are actually going for headshots. And I think that's an area where, you know, in a hectic fight like that, yeah, some people may be hitting you in the head, and, you know, the better players will be aiming for that anyways, but, you know, you're still going to get a lot of the resistance back from using the Nanoweave.
Yeah, even the players that aim for headshots aren't always aiming for headshots, and they're not always going to be hitting you in the head, even if they are aiming for headshots. So you're going to be getting a return on Nanoweave regardless of who you're playing against, or, you know, what class you're playing against or whatever.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think we should probably clarify that both of us kind of take a more aggressive approach to Infiltrator. You know, if you're one of the guys that sits back a little bit further, and if that's what you like doing, that's totally fine. But, you know, I think for a situation like that, you know, ammo belt, you're going to be alive a lot longer. Being able to fire more rounds downrange is probably helpful. You know, maybe Nanoweave just to kind of avoid some of the damage from afar too. But, you know, I think the ones that we're talking about really fit more into the more aggressive style play.
Yeah, the one thing that I did change, or the one loadout that's going to change because of the Nanoweave changes for me, is my sniper loadout, my long distance sniper loadout actually. I always ran Nanoweave armor to avoid that one hit kill headshot from enemy snipers. I won't be doing that anymore, obviously. So for my long range sniping loadout, I'll probably actually go with ammo belt now, or even grenade bandolier. Silly as that sounds, having 3 EMP grenades where when I need to pull out my pistol is pretty damn awesome.
Yeah, that's a good call. I didn't even think about the change really impacting that. So, all right, cool. All right, so let's move over to heavy assault. I'm not sure how often you're playing heavy, but when you do, what do you think is going to be best now that Nanoweave changes have gone effective?
Well, for my heavy assault, like, all I think about when I play my heavy is making him a complete tank. So I'm still going to be rolling with Nanoweave armor, even though, you know, the changes have affected it a little bit. And I do run resist shield, so, you know, they're not going to mesh as well together. But I think I'm still going to roll with Nanoweave armor.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time really deciding between Nanoweave and the advanced shield capacitor for the heavy, especially when you're talking about just infantry fights. You know, I still think the Nanoweave is going to obviously be really, really helpful against small arms, and like you said, it's making you even more of a tank. And especially when you consider, you know, your ability with the shield in addition to that, I mean, it really just makes you so much stronger. So I'm a little torn on the usefulness of the shield capacitor for the heavy. I mean, it obviously gets you back into the fight quicker, but if you're not running Nanoweave, it's not helping you get back into the fight if you die in the process.
Well, one thing to think about with Advanced Shield Consider is if you do like to run the Adrenaline Shield or the, I can't ever remember the name of the starting shield, Nanite Shield, something, I don't, the ones that just stop damage. I believe that if you get hit with those while your shield is depleted, it won't interrupt your shield recharge. So if you have Advanced Shield Capacitor, that'll just get your shield back that much faster. You can actually get hit and your shield will keep, the recharge time won't reset.
Oh, that's kind of nice. I didn't actually know that.
The problem with that is, right now, in my opinion, Resist Shield is just so much better than the other two shields anyway that nobody really uses those too much.
Right.
I would like to see that change, but that's a different topic for a different day.
Yeah, for sure. And then the other one that I think I find pretty useful for heavy assault is more situational, and that's, running flak armor, especially when, there's a lot of enemy vehicles around, and most of the time the heavies are the ones that are taking on the responsibility of getting rid of those vehicles. So I think there's a lot of value in starting up flak for your heavy as well.
Yeah, I think flak's going to be a good option for every class. Actually, I think it's always been a pretty good option for every class. Now that you can take direct rocket hits and take less damage because of it, is good as like you said, is good. But I also think Grenade Bandolier again is going to be good for this class. They have, I think, the best grenade in the game, and the concussion grenade. To be able to chuck 3 of them out in a pile.
Oh, and they're fun to use too.
Yeah, is going to be pretty damn cool. And those are really, really nice against maxes as well. Let you throw one of them out and then hit them with a rocket.
Yeah, good call. And then for the guys that like to go vehicle hunting, being able to carry a boatload of anti-vehicle grenades is pretty handy too.
Yeah, I've never really gotten into anti-vehicle grenades. Every time I throw them, they tend to bounce around and never hit anything. But I think the one thing that I wouldn't really run on heavy assault is the ammo belt, considering you have, as long as you're running LMGs. Maybe if you're running shotgun or something.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I wouldn't really be using that either. Kind of on an off-topic discussion here, wouldn't it be great if the anti-vehicle grenades were sticky?
That would be great. They'd probably be a little too good. I think they'd kind of be like a secondary C4 at that point, but again, I haven't played around with them too much, so I don't know how awesome they actually are.
I actually find them more useful against maxes than I do actual vehicles.
Yeah, I hear people saying that a lot, and it's something I should definitely go back and check out, and because I do actually have them purchased. I just one of them things. I don't play heavy that much as it is. When I do, I just love the concussion grenades so damn much.
Yeah, I'm not really a big heavy guy myself either, so if you guys have differing opinions on this, feel free to leave them in the comments. But, for me, I think I'll probably just go right with the flak armor, because that's more of the role that I use my heavy for. It's pretty rare that I'm actually going infantry hunting. I find the different classes better for that in my mind.
Yep, and I'll probably stick with Nanoweave because when I go after vehicles, it's always a completely different class. Actually, my vehicle killing classes are engineer or light assault, depending on the vehicle. And so I'll probably just roll with Nanoweave.
Sounds good. Alright guys, before we move on to engineer, we got a surprise guest, Camikaze78. You hopefully know his channel. If you don't, I'll have a link in the description for this video. He's in our outfit and just hopped on, so say hello, Cammy.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Alright, so we've just talked about Infiltrator and Heavy Assault in our recommendations with the Nanoweave changes, so now we're going to go ahead and jump into the Engineer. Koolaid, what would you say is your preference now with the Nanoweave change for the NG?
Well, Nanoweave is something I've never ran on the Engineer, ever. I originally went with flak, and then I think for like the last 6 months I've run nothing but the utility pouch, unless I'm sitting only in the vehicle, unless that's my only goal. But other than that, I run utility pouch.
Okay. Cammy, what would you recommend?
You see, it really depends on the loadout that I'm using. I mean, I have a grenadier loadout on my Engineer, which is, the underbarrel grenade launcher, so I spam grenades on that one. So I'd often have
one of those guys.
One of those guys. Those guys that get on top of biolabs and things like that, yeah.
There's always one.
Yeah, there is. But I'd often either have a grenadier bandolier or, again, the utility pouch for dealing with sunderers or locking down points of AT mines, or the flak armor. Really depends on the situation.
See, for me, Flak is the one that I'm going to be starting back into, and I'm with you, Koolaid. I've never used the Nanoweave on my engineer either, which is kind of strange considering I'm pretty sure I've done a ton of infantry fighting with my engineer anyways, but you know, I could see, you know, the munitions pouch being really helpful, especially for carrying those extra mines and explosives, and I've got that unlocked, but, you know, at the same time, I also kind of hate running through my resources that fast. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I don't play that way very often, so for me, you know, if I'm engineer, sometimes I'm on, you know, vehicle destroying duty, or other times I'm on max or ammo repairing duty. So, I mean, I can see, like, Nanoweave or, you know, Advanced Shield Capacitor being good for those, but at the same time, I think, you know, Flak could save your bacon in those situations a lot, especially considering you can use it in multiple different types of situations. It feels like it just gives you a lot of bang for your buck.
I was about to say, as a I guess a max pocket NG, someone's going to be hanging around as a max constantly, or hanging around a max constantly repairing them. That max is going to have a lot of rocket launchers coming at their face, so flak armor could be a very viable option in that instance, as well as Nanoweave. It depends on the what kind of munitions your enemies are flinging at you, really.
Definitely.
Isn't that part of the fun, not knowing what they're giving you?
Exactly, yeah. The dynamics of Planetside, don't we all love it?
One thing I never do with my engineer, actually, is go infantry. Just like, you know, I would use a light assault or a heavy assault or an infiltrator in that role, but I always forget that they actually have anti-personnel mines, and you could totally go complete, you know, just infantry fighting class with your engineer, and in that case, Nanoweave would actually still be pretty damn good.
Yeah, I kind of, when I'm kind of on the max or just distributing ammo duty, that's kind of the role that I normally take on. It's funny though, because like I said, I've never really used the Nanoweave, but yeah, I think just running around and having that extra durability to the, you know, small arms fire would definitely be helpful.
If it wasn't for utility pouch, I wouldn't have all them sexy triple Sunder kills. That's one thing I need to note.
All right, well, you can't get a much better sale than that, so.
Yeah.
I think Medic is going to be one that's a little bit more interesting and kind of hard to pick. So, Cammy, what would you think is kind of your best bang for your buck with the Medic?
You see, with the Medic, prior to the patch, I've always run either Nanoweave or Grenadier Bandolier, and personally I'd continue to keep that setup. The reasoning behind Grenade Bandolier is because I always run Revive Grenades for the outfit whenever I'm playing a Medic. So I always just spam the Revive Grenades in there, make sure they get back up if we've lost the point. And I just find the Bandolier to be extremely useful for a combat medic, especially when he has access to those revival healing grenades.
I hear a lot of people say that, actually. I made a medic loadout video a while back, and I would say I probably got 10 comments or so saying that they use the Grenade Bandolier as well. I personally run Advanced Shield Capacitor. I just love that. Love that suit slot. But I run that on my medic. I'll continue to run that on my medic. But my whole thing behind that is that I could already heal. I didn't need the extra health. But if my shield was coming back faster, that was less of me hiding and more of me being able to get out and heal and revive my teammates.
You know, that's a pretty good point. You know, I've thought about using the shield capacitor too, but you know, I almost took the opposite mindset of, you know, oh, well, I can already heal my actual health, so I don't need something else that's going to kind of keep me, you know, regenerating. But you know, the fact that, you know, I'm sitting there waiting for it to regen instead of being out there, it kind of makes a lot of sense. You know, when I think about playing Medic and how I die the most frequently, I'm generally reviving people when I'm standing behind cover. So I'm normally killed by, like, grenades or other explosives or vehicles. So to me, it almost makes sense to run, you know, Flak for this situation a little bit. And as we kind of go through this, I keep feeling like I'm saying, like, Flak seems like it's going to be my primary choice. But I don't know. The problem, again, kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the engineer. You don't really know what the enemies are bringing to the fight, so it's almost like you just got to pick one and go with it.
Well, it's true. If you play a certain class a lot, you should have multiple suit slots ready for it. And I do think when it comes to the healing medic, just the one dedicated to healing your teammates first, I think Flak and the Grenade Bandolier are definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I would say, like, if you're going to be a very cautious medic, someone who's worried about, you know, creeping around the corner to find a bunch of maxes there, the grenade bandolier can help you because you simply have more revive grenades. Therefore, you can play it a little bit more safer without jumping out into the line of fire, which is basically how a really supportive medic should be operating in a way.
Yeah, I always thought of myself as the combat part of combat medic first. I will heal and revive everybody, but I'm just because I'm playing medic doesn't mean I have to stop from thinking kill first, revive second. Even if and it really comes down to your playstyle. Even if you're using a shotgun as a medic and wanted to just go full out murder mode, in that point, ammo belt would even be decent for a medic. It just really all comes down to style.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. The weapon choice along with how you actually play the kit's gonna really kind of determine what you want to throw into that slot. So yeah, I think as with all of these, and I think probably the best thing that you actually brought up was having multiple setups, and not only just so you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one, you know exactly what you're coming into the fight with, but two, you can change it at a moment's notice if you need to.
Yeah, especially for a medic. I think a medic is the main class that does need multiple setups because they can play so many different roles.
Yep.
Alright, so our last class to break down is going to be the Light Assault. We're not really going to go into max setups because it's not really that relevant. So, Light Assault, Koolaid, go.
I use Advanced Shield Capacitor on my Light Assault, but there's, again, so many different ways you could go here. I still think Nanoweave would be really good here. If you're using shotguns, which a lot of people like to do on Light Assault, ammo's really good. If even Grenade Bandolier, get 3 smoke grenades or 3 flashbangs. I think you could really go anywhere here. I'm personally going to keep Advanced Shield Capacitor, which is what I ran pre-update 2, or whatever the hell you want to call it.
PUO2. Alright, yeah, Cammy, what would you go with?
Again, it depends on pretty much my weapon of choice. If I was going to rock something, say, with a high rate of fire but low magazine capacity and low ammo pool, such as the GD7F, it would easily be my ammo belt. But I was going to rock something like a shotgun or something else. I'd probably rock the Advanced Shield Capacitor, honestly. Or Nanoweave. It depends on,
Shotguns have pretty low ammo pool, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I just find their time to kill, if you're accurate with them, of course, to be really, really quick. So it kind of gives you a little bit more of a capability to get out of there, because you leave the enemy stunned in a way, I guess. But I don't know.
Koolaid, did he just call you out?
What?
I said, did he just call you out on your accuracy?
I think he inadvertently did, or maybe he tried to. What a dick!
Did I?
Yeah, welcome to our show, Cammy.
Oh yeah.
I think he was kind of making a different point where he can get some couple kills with a shotgun and go get some extra ammo if needed.
That's it. I'll have to prove this in the Waterson VR training area a little bit later. I'll see you there.
For me on the Light Assault, I mix in shotguns every once in a while. I generally will run the Blitz. I mean, that's probably 90% of my time using the the kit. So for me, I think the ammo belt, just to keep that freaking streak going alive a lot longer without having to try and escape just to get more ammo. Especially because I feel like I'm on the front lines when I'm using Light Assault. I'm not generally in a place where there's a lot of friendlies around that can kind of support you with more ammunition. That being said, it's really another one of those areas that's just kind of a toss-up. I still see myself using quite a bit of Nanoweave on the Light Assault too. Not to mention the headshots are a little bit harder to hit when you're flying around and jumping around like a crazy person. And mostly when I'm using this kind of inside large bases or towers, so I don't really have to worry about explosives too much. So I can't really see myself using flak on this class very often.
I can't see myself using flak either. But one way it might be a little bit nice, aside from the random explosives you're going to get hit with, is your own C4. I do C4 myself quite a bit.
Yep.
Just trying, because the deploy time is so long in this game for the C4, so a lot of times I will blow it before I actually get completely clear of it and do quite a bit of damage to myself.
Yeah, I'm very guilty of that as well.
You and me both.
So, what, we're not getting any love here for the adrenaline pump?
Yeah.
Well, I think that says all it needs to say.
It's great for 30 points until you realize you can't do anything else with it, and everything else is better, basically. I had it, and I didn't even notice I had it. That's the problem with it.
I honestly see myself jumping around like an idiot with my jump jets half the time, too often to be using that adrenaline shield or adrenaline pump, I should say, to the best of its ability. So yeah, it's just I don't see myself using it.
No,
I think it's gonna get buffed eventually, and I'm hoping by the time I get akimbo weapons, they're gonna bump that up to a 90% speed increase, so I can just run around with my dual crossbows or dual sledgehammers or something at that point, and basically just wreck face.
Would you like dual flamethrowers so you could be a little mini max?
Dual flamethrowers, dual hair dryers, dual blowtorches, anything dual.
Just when you thought you'd seen it all.
I'll take dual burritos. That would even be something.
I'm hungry. Quit talking about burritos. So yeah, I mean, I think light assault, like all of these, there's a lot of choices that you can actually make. But I think for me, the most bang for the buck's either going to be probably shield capacitor or Nanoweave. I think those are the two that I'll probably be using the most.
Yeah, I'm going with shield capacitor, and let me clarify to Camikaze, I actually never ran ammo with shotgun loadouts, but I heard of a lot of people doing that. I've pretty much run advanced shield capacitor forever.
Yeah, you and me both. The only time I'll ever run the ammo belt would be on my SMG or carbine light assaults, so yeah.
Yeah, I don't generally use it on my carbine because I find myself aiming down sights a lot, but I don't think I ever aim down sights when I'm using my blitz, and it burns through ammo so fast that I almost feel like that's a necessity.
Well, I did, when I was talking shotgun, I actually meant semi-auto shotgun, and I do burn through ammo fast with semi-auto shotguns if I'm on a good little streak, because the way they've been hit with the Nerf bat, I mean, you're sometimes taking 4 or 5 shots, even if you're, getting direct hits, if they're outside of that really short range where, shotguns are effective.
Yep, agreed. All right, guys. So like we talked last time, each week we're going to be, or each episode, I should say, we're going to be taking, one question or comment that was on the last video and actually break it down a little bit more. And this time we're going to talk about Cameron Cole's post, and he says, does anyone else think that the dumbfire rockets are crap? And this isn't a balanced thing. All default rockets for each faction travel incredibly slow. He goes on to say that he came from Battlefield, and he doesn't think that it's right in a game like Battlefield that's so small compared to PS2 that the rockets travel incredibly fast, where here they travel about the fifth of the speed as the Battlefield rockets. It's impossible to hit a mag rider with a Shrike, let alone a harasser. So basically, he says that he almost feels like he needs to use lock-ons in order to be competitive instead of the dumbfires. So, thoughts or impressions on that?
I agree, actually, because I came from playing Battlefield as well, and when I play Battlefield Conquest, 90% of the time I'm playing Engineer for the sole use of using rockets. I don't play Heavy Assault very, very often in Planetside. Part of the reason is because I don't really like the rockets. They have such a slow travel time. I used to pride myself in Battlefield on hitting helicopters or jets out of the sky with RPGs, and I do that in Planetside, but it just seems so much more difficult and so much more annoying to try and do that it doesn't make me want to play Heavy Assault like Battlefield made me want to play Engineer.
Yeah, agreed. Cammy, what do you got on that?
I would also agree, coming from Battlefield as well, originally. That said, I do think that the dumbfires in Planetside 2 have a real risk-reward sort of factor to them. You do have to be very accurate. You have to compensate for a lot.
Calling on my accuracy again.
No, I'm not. I'm not calling on you personally.
Who invited this guy?
I think he invited himself. He just snuck in.
Oh, yeah, very funny.
But he came on our mumble and was lurking around. Just let me in the channel.
Hey, I couldn't even PM you guys. I didn't even couldn't even get the message through.
We know. We're
busting your chops.
Anyway, as I was saying, like, when it comes to these rockets, I do think that they are slower. Like, it's much, much slower compared to Battlefield. I find myself hitting much less aircraft with the dumbfires in this game compared to the ones in Battlefield. That said, I do think it's somewhat necessary due to the differences between lock-ons and dumbfires in this game. It is quite large. Not just the fact that they're two different kinds of rockets. They're just, I don't know, it kind of just to me adds some sort of a gameplay difference that sort of differentiates the planet. I don't even know anymore.
I think what you're talking about right now kind of creates my problem with what the dumbfire rockets are, and the fact that they are so far outclassed by the lock-on launchers. Outside of just, if you're close and you can guarantee a one-shot kill, that's one thing. But in most situations, with how big this game is, it's hard to shoot a long-range rocket and get a hit on a moving target. And it almost seems like it forces people into using the lock-on launchers that we talked about last episode as being pretty skillless and frustrating to fight against. And I almost feel like that at times. When there's air in the sky, I generally feel like I've got to pull out a hawk or something instead of just being able to use, the Shrike when that's what I would rather be doing anyways.
Yeah, also, you go, Koolaid, sorry.
About the air thing, also, one of the reasons I enjoy it more in Battlefield is because you one-shot everything in the air in that game. And, the helicopters in Battlefield are kind of compared to Liberators in Planetside, and you can't, it's going to take you 2 or 3 or 4 dumbfire rockets to take down a full health Liberator in this game, whereas it takes 1 RPG to take down a helicopter in Battlefield, which is more realistic, but I realize why they can't do that in Planetside. But that's part of the reason I think it's not as fun for me, at least.
Yeah. You're right. It's not as fun, but it's certainly just not as effective. I'd just like to see either. I mean, it could be fixed a couple different ways. I mean, you could either increase the speed at which they travel, you can give them increased damage, or maybe lower the resistance from other vehicles to the dumbfire, so it's not just a direct damage increase. I think any one of those three would make it more interesting to use those.
Yeah, I would agree. Personally, I'd prefer the muzzle velocity, just for the simple fact that I can engage at further distance without having to pull out a lock-on, because I don't enjoy using them personally. Yeah, I'd prefer the muzzle velocity over everything.
Yeah, I would too. I think just a little faster projectile speed would make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Alright, so Cameron, hopefully that answered your question. Alright guys, so that's going to pretty much wrap up our discussions today. Big thanks to Camikaze for joining us, and he's going to be joining us again in a future episode for something that he wants to discuss. Like always, if you have something you want discussed, please feel free to put it in the comments, and we'll make sure to add it into one of our next Duality episodes. Koolaid, Cammy, anything to add before we wrap it up?
Also, yeah, if you are a YouTuber or just really interested in joining and think you have something good to talk about, maybe sometime down the line, we do have quite a bit of people, kind of lined up to do episodes, and we don't kick these out very often. But if you're really interested in joining, really think you have something good to say, and you're not going to sit on here and sound like a complete douche, then let us know. There's a possible chance that you might be able to get on sometime down the line.
All right, Cammy, anything from you?
kind of like Camikaze did all episode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you.
Just turned it into a roast.
Yep, pretty much. I know that much. Yeah, just thanks for having me, guys. It's good fun chatting about certain things after the PU2 update. It was good chatting with you guys.
All right. Good deal. Well, thanks for joining us, sir. Everybody, appreciate you watching. I'll have links to both of these guys' channels in the description below, so make sure you subscribe to both. Give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and we will talk to you guys with another episode in a couple weeks. So take care.
Later.